G'day. I just want to run you through a new update that we've got to the way that we handle generic or non-stocked parts. We've had some inquiries from clients just of recent times around some confusions and some questions around how we handle the non-stock items, and we've made some improvements in that area which I want to show you. So first up, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring up a random number. Now the part number is not really important, to be quite honest, but couple of notable things here are the quantity on hand is all set to 0, and the average cost and all the costs are all set to 0. Now under stock options there's an important thing that's been set here, and this is this don't update quantity. Now what don't update quantity means is that it is a product that you don't in essence buy or sell. It's a generic product. You don't keep quantities on hand, that sort of thing. Now the way that that was treated recently or previously was that you could sell the product but you couldn't buy it, and the way you used to work it was you'd allocate the purchase of the product to a cost of sale general ledger account. Now we've made some improvements in that area, and that's what I want to show you, and we've also done a couple of other changes as well which I'd like to run you through. So let's go take a look at how this works. Okay, so the other thing that I want to show you is that in the system file, so if we go to Utilities, System Setup and System File, and we go to the Parts tab, there's this pop-up or this option here that says pop-up cost entry for non-stock lines. Now this is an important thing that you make sure that you've got ticked on, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to enter in the cost as you're going and selling these non-stock items. Now let's go and see this in action. So I'm just going to jump into a repair order, or this could be a parts invoice. It's all the same. And I'm just going to jump down and start doing an invoice. Now the details of this invoice is not really all that relevant if I pull up the right product. And what you'll notice now is that it comes up with this item cost entry. So if I put in, let's say $3, or I might put in $3.75 just so that it's pretty obvious what it was. I'm going to sell it for $9. Let's say, and I'm going to go off and do a sale of $9. Now I'm going to just pause it for a second. I'm going to skip the process of doing a job card and invoice, but I'm just going to finalize this invoice. Okay, so the invoice just went off and got printed. Now you remember that we put in $3.75 as our cost. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump into the reports and have a look at the sales report for today. Now if we run this sales report, what you'll notice is that you can see the cost. That might just be a little bit off screen for you guys. I'll just bring it over a little bit so that you guys can see it. You'll notice here that there is this product that we sold for $9 here. So $9 plus GST, this line here, and I'm just going to go across a little bit, and you'll see that the cost price was $3.75, when in fact in the stock master file the cost price of course was set to 0. So now this is reporting correctly as to what we want to see on our sales reports, and it's gone off and shown us the value that we want to see on the sales report for that particular transaction. Now if we go and run 50472 as an individual transaction report in the general ledger, and take a look at that, I'll just make this the right size as well, and what you'll notice is that you'll see that there are just debits and credits here, which are basically just for trade debtors, GST and sales. There's no inventory and there's no cost of sales, because in the general ledger, this hasn't got any value in the general ledger. It's a non-stocked line, okay, and it's a product that we're not going to actually keep in the GL, and therefore there's been nothing updated in the general ledger. Now the way that we tie that off on the other side in the GL is we'd actually now go off and do a creditor invoice, and we go and buy the product. Now let's go and see how we operate that. So now we're just going to jump into a creditor invoice, and we're just going to go and buy this from a random parts supplier. We're going to buy this for $3.75, which is actually $4.12. And it's actually $4.13. We're going to go and process this. Now, what you might notice is different here from the latest update has allowed us to do, we've now allowed us to put this product onto a creditor invoice. Now, previously you couldn't do this. It would say this is a don't update quantity product, and therefore you can't put this onto this creditor invoice. So we've changed the way that works, and we've allowed you now to put that onto the creditor invoice, right? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to grab this reference number, and we're going to go and see what happens once this was processed in the actual report console for the general ledger. So if we go and have a look at that reference in the GL, and I'll just change the size so you guys can see it, what you'll notice now is that this has gone to cost of sales of parts, right? So instead of this going into inventory, so I've just bought this into inventory, it's now gone directly to cost of sales parts, and that's the difference that the system does because this is a buy-in product. If this wasn't a buy-in product, that would have gone to inventory. So there's a distinct difference and an important difference there. So if we go and run our profit and loss now, our profit and loss will actually match our sales report because our profit and loss is going to have say that we've sold $9 worth of product through the sale of the invoice, and we've got $3.75 as our cost in the general ledger under cost of sales, which is going to match exactly what we've got in our sales report, which we've manipulated by putting in that $3.75 manually on the invoice. So I hope you get what's happened there and get the idea around being able to manipulate the cost for the sales report, and also then to be able to enter in that cost when you're doing a creditor invoice. Now, there's nothing in the system that will stop you from putting in a different value in the sales invoice as to the creditor invoice. So this isn't something where you can go and check this and check the items that you've put in and they should match. This is something that you've got to make sure that you manage correctly and that you're actually putting in the right value in here, and you're putting in the right value in when you go off and do a sale. But it does make it a whole lot easier to operate. I think it makes it a far better way of operating it, and it gives you more realistic and more accurate reporting from the sales side of the system, and an easier way of handling your non-stock lines, which essentially are things that are a little bit obscure, but at the end of the day, I guess most people use this non-stock lines style of system. So I hope you find that that's a valuable improvement to the system, and I hope I've been of value today. Thanks.